Hey guys, welcome back to F&I Fuel Chat with Rob and Jeremiah. Today's question is the funniest thing you've ever done in a presentation.
Well, the funniest thing I've ever done in a presentation. I'll do one when doing our job instead of F&I. I got one for F&I too because I did a lot of funny stuff in F&I. I like making people laugh, and they did. The funniest thing I ever did, it wasn't funny. The context is important, right? So doing what we do for a living, we walk into a lot of dealerships, right? Mm-hmm. And we walk into a lot of dealerships where people don't know us. Unfortunately, it's part of the job. I don't like to do it, but we have to do it from time to time. So I was in another state.
Yeah, and you guys are so friendly all the time when we walk in.
Oh yeah, when we know you, you're great. When we don't know you, you look at us and like we have like the plague or something, you know. So I walk into this dealership, big Ford store. It's in the country. I'd been trying to get a hold of this dealer. I called this guy like 5 times. He won't return my calls. Whatever. I'm doing business with 3 or 4 dealers within 20 miles of there. So, hey, you know, what the heck? I'm going to go by and stop by. Now, I'm working with somebody else, and that's the context of this. So there's someone with me while this is going on. So I went to the secretary and said, hey, you know, is Mr. So-and-so here? Yeah, he's here. His office right back there. Why don't you go on back there and walk back there to him? I'm like, hey, I don't need to be asked twice. No problem. So I walk back. This gentleman's sitting in, he's got a big old office, got a big old desk. He's sitting there, and he's looking down like this as I'm walking to the door. I kind of knocked on the frame of the door because it was open. He said, yeah, what can I do for you? And I was like, hey, listen, you know, and I start talking about, I just wanted to see if we could set up a time where we could come back and talk to you about what our company does, work with a bunch of dealers in the area. And he looks at me and says, let me stop you. Are you from Ford? And I was like, no, sir. And he says, the products that you're talking about, is that factory, is that Ford? I said, no, the products aren't Ford. I'm not interested. Yeah, and I saw, of course, I'm like, well, I understand, you know, loyalty to the factory, I get it, all the rest. But we do some things that Ford doesn't compete with Ford. And he says, is the product Ford? And I said,
I
said, no, it's not. And he says, again, I don't have any interest. And I said, okay, well, listen, I work with a lot of Ford stores who also have Ford, you know, I guess it was ESP or whatever at the time. And so I'm not here to displace Ford. I'm actually here to see if there's something we can do with you to help you make some money that Ford doesn't and wouldn't hurt Ford at all. And he says, let me ask you a question. I said, yeah. He goes, is it Ford? And I said, no. And I smiled at him real big. And I said, but I want to let you know something. I am with Ford, and you passed. And I turned around and walked away. And the guy that was with me does this. But I mean, what am I supposed to say at that point? I'm with Ford and you passed. And he just looked at me, and I just turned around and walked out of the dealership. So that was one of the funnier ones what about you?
All right, well, it was early on. Making a presentation was one of my first presentations ever to like pitch service contracts, and I was in this independent dealer and nervous, terrified, okay? Don't have any clue what I'm doing. I'm just going to read some stuff and see if I can get a sell. And the guy, I guess, had popped a zit prior to coming in. So he's sitting there, again, brand new to the business, nervous. Well, it starts bleeding.
Oh, God.
And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, but I don't know what to say because, like, do I tell him he's bleeding or do I just keep going over my service contract, blah, 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 and I'm looking at him and it's bleeding, it's getting longer. Well, now it starts to build a bubble up on his chin and it drips on his shirt. Well, I'm sitting there and I'm like talking to him. You know, we're making eye contact and everything, and he's just bleeding. Well, his business partner walks in and he goes, oh my God, you're bleeding. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice. And the guy's like gushing blood the entire time. I just felt like such an idiot. But yeah, put your comments and let us know what the funniest thing you've ever done in a presentation. Keep it clean though.
Yeah, right, keep it clean.